Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1655. The topic is nutrition and the title is, Should You Change Your Nutrition If You Change Your Training Style? So, this came from a listener and actually a former client. So they sent an email, had some questions, I answered them, and I thought it would make a good podcast. Let's read through everything. I wrote that I'm happy to hear from you. I love your questions. I'll answer them in an upcoming podcast, that's this podcast, and send you the audio file. But below, I gave some quick answers so you'd have them. So we're going to read through the questions. She wrote, last week, my friend convinced me to try CrossFit with her. She has been asking me for quite some time, and I finally went, and I really enjoyed it. Yay, that's awesome. I am hoping to continue to go 2 to 3 times a week. I listened to your podcast, I think it was podcast 1132, about CrossFit and aesthetic development. And I'm wondering how I figure out my calories and protein for the days I do CrossFit. So yes, we did do podcast 1132, and the idea of that was to discuss how CrossFit, how you can still build muscle while doing CrossFit. And that's kind of the idea is people think doing CrossFit, you're going to be physically fit, you're going to move some weights around, you're going to automatically build muscle. That's not always the case. A lot of CrossFitters on the elite level, they look amazing because their nutrition is amazing. So how you eat is that is the be-all, end-all of whether CrossFit actually builds muscle for you, and whether you can kind of avoid joint pain and overall body fatigue from CrossFit. CrossFit's awesome. I love CrossFit. I have a lot of CrossFit coaches as clients. My wife, Meredith, she was a CrossFit coach, and we've definitely done it. I've been immersed in it. Like, I've helped people go to the CrossFit Games. Love it, love it, love it. But if you don't eat properly, and this would be the same for any sport, strongman, bodybuilding, aesthetic competitions, just training to look better, feel better. If you don't eat correctly, then exercise can kind of beat you up. That's the idea when you're in the gym and you're doing exercise, you're tearing apart your muscles, you're beating the body up, and you're giving it a stimulus that it will adapt to if you give it enough sleep and food. So your nutrition is extremely important. That's what we talked about in podcast 1132. So if you can listen to that if you want to get the extra background. She goes on to write, I know my watch is not accurate for the amount of calories I've burned, but it shows that I burn a significant amount more doing CrossFit than weight training. Do I need to up my calorie and protein intake on those days, or just stay the same? I want to keep progressing in terms of body composition, so building some muscle, losing some fat. I still have those same problem areas that we were working on before. They've gotten a lot better, but everybody always wants to continue to get better and better and better. And I just want to make sure CrossFit isn't something that will hinder my goals. I wanted to get your thoughts and opinion on that. So I wrote back, CrossFit does burn more calories than our regular workouts. So the regular type of workouts she was doing before were for fat loss and muscle shaping. We wanted to build muscle, but the more important part was building like the shoulder caps, building some depth to her back, building up the lower glutes to match the upper glutes to get a nice full round glute. We wanted to build the musculature of the thighs around the knees, so that way the thigh had more of like an oval shape rather than being kind of skinny at the knees but thick at the hips. So we had a lot of shaping components in her programming, and we were set up to do 4 to 5 workouts a week, blended with the chaos of regular life. So meaning like her regular job, taking care of kids, all those kind of normal things. So the training that we were doing before, it wasn't as intense as what CrossFit would be, but we were getting a lot of caloric burn, a lot of caloric usage, a lot of caloric demand in the recovery part. So the training wasn't as crazy while she did it, but it was so hyper-focused on like specific muscles that there was a high caloric demand to recover and repair those muscles between the sessions. So that training style doesn't use intra-workout calorie burn as the main driver for fat loss. It actually uses recovery phase caloric burn as the main driver of fat loss. So I like that a lot because it helps improve people's shape. They feel less beat up in their joints, and the workouts are not as insanely aggressive as they would need to be if you do it the other model. So it's a model that I prefer, especially when somebody's trying to blend workouts as a regular part of life. So they're not going to be able to spend as much time working out and or be able to work out for an hour, then need an hour afterwards to recover. So you have to be kind of mindful in how to balance that with regular life. So again, I wrote calories. CrossFit does burn more calories than our regular workouts did, and depending on the movement and weight used, it has potential to create as much caloric demand during recovery phase as our regular workouts do. And that would just be, that's one of the challenges of CrossFit is it's so highly variable that one day you can do a whole bunch of stuff on the legs, next day it's a full body, next day it's cardio based, and there isn't always a structure or a rhyme or reason. There's rhymes and reasons, but they're not always as black and white basic and consistent as, say, body shaping style training is. CrossFit's a little bit more like all over the place. So some of the workouts, like in all the workouts for CrossFit, she would burn more calories than typical body shaping, kind of workouts would be. But sometimes she would have as much recovery phase demand, sometimes she wouldn't. So I wrote that if you were wanting to keep your same body fat level, you would likely benefit from adding 100 to 200 calories to your daily intake on those CrossFit days. Now that would be of the energy nutrients, carbs and fats, compared to her regular training days. But if you were wanting to get leaner, I would keep the calories the same as your other training days. But if you felt under-recovered, you'd want to add about 0.1 to 0.2 times your body weight in extra protein per day. So roughly 15 to 30 grams based on her body weight. I knew what her body weight was. So it's a little bit variable. If she's happy with her body fat and she wants to do well in those workouts, survive the workouts, then she can add extra calories. If she wants to use the stimulus of the CrossFit to drive extra fat loss, then she would actually want to add extra protein to aid in the recovery. So this is fun. This is why I love my job, is because the answer is never black and white. It's always exactly what that person needs, and you can play with all the nuancy things to get exactly what that person needs and whatever's best for them. So if she wants to keep her same body fat level, she would increase her energy calories, carbs and fats. If she doesn't want to keep her same body fat level, she wants to get leaner, we would not increase the carbs and fats, but we would increase the protein to account for the extra recovery demand. So this is fun for us to know, is if you go back and forth, like one of my CrossFit coaches, she does CrossFit some days, and then she does like what we call Globo Gym workouts on other days, where she'll go to a commercial gym and do like more like body shaping, bodybuilding type movements, so more controlled type workouts. The CrossFit workouts, she's going to burn more calories. Absolutely. But the commercial gym workouts, she's going to have potentially more muscle damage in specific muscles. So sometimes she would benefit from extra calories, sometimes she'd benefit from extra protein, and that's just kind of trying to play that balance of, am I happy with my body fat level? If I am, then I want to eat a little bit more on the CrossFit days to help me deal with the extra caloric demand. If I want to get leaner, I want to keep my energy nutrients the same, but maybe eat more protein. So this is a lot of fun where we would say, like, should you change your nutrition if you change your training style? If you go to a training style that burns more calories intra-workout, well, if you want the extra fat loss, great, just leave it alone. If you don't want the fat loss and you want to maximize performance, then eat a little extra, and typically around 200 calories extra is enough. Likewise, if you go from a training style from an aggressive one to a less aggressive, you want to make a caloric reduction if you want to maintain your body fat. So there's a lot of fun being able to play around with this, is if I change my training style to being more energy, higher energy demand, then I might want to eat more energy. If I change it to being more physically demanding and muscle tissue demanding, then I want to eat more protein. So it just depends on from what you're training to. Are you changing training from higher to lower calories or lower to higher calories? Are you changing training from less muscle damage to more muscle damage and you would adjust your protein based on that. So really cool stuff. She goes on to ask if CrossFit is something that I continue. There are days where I will go to class at 5 a.m., and I know it is important to eat before a workout. Yes. Are there certain things you would recommend for an intense workout like that wouldn't make me vomit? LOL. So typically, if you're going to do something at 5 in the morning, you're badass, good for you. But it's going to be liquid calories. And that's going to be the most helpful thing. So what you would want to do is if you don't take thyroid medicine, and if you do, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry about it. But if you don't take thyroid medicine, drinking your calories in the morning would make the most sense. So drink some protein, some whey isolate protein, and drink something that has carbs in it. You can kind of put that together. You can eat fruit if you want. It has to be fast digesting, like eat like an apple, maybe banana, and then drink like a protein shake. But I prefer more so liquid calories. And the idea of that is it digests damn near immediately. It's as fast as you can get food in you other than just injecting sugar into your veins. But that way, if she's driving to CrossFit, she starts to drink the drink at home, drinks it on the way to the CrossFit, then all of a sudden she has her protein, she has her carbs in her. So that's the idea, is to get sugary liquid and whey protein powder. Now, I said to the email her, some people will mix like vanilla protein powder with Gatorade powder, like an orange flavor. One of my clients does that, and they said it's like an orange dreamsicle, and they like the flavor of that. So yay. But you would not want to eat anything that's high fat content or anything that's a whole food protein source, because it's just not going to digest it fast enough. You're going to have that sitting in your stomach, and you probably will throw up. Now, if you take thyroid medicine, you could take the medicine the night before. So if you take your thyroid medicine right before you go to bed, and then when you wake up in the morning, you can do the same thing I just described. Or if that kind of freaks you out and you don't want to do that, then take the thyroid medicine, put it right by your bed. The second your alarm goes off, throw it down your face. And then in 30 minutes, start drinking the sugary drink. Whether you're at CrossFit already, whether you're on your way to CrossFit already, give it 30 minutes and start drinking the sugary drink. But that's how you would manage consuming calories in the morning before the workout. The last question she asked was, I also wanted to ask if I'm doing CrossFit 2 to 3 times a week, how do I work in the plans you wrote for me? Or is there something else I could or should do the days I don't do CrossFit? So again, the ways in which she would train on the other days was like body shaping workouts. It was intense, challenging workouts, but they're not going to be as holistic, crazy movements as CrossFit would have. Nothing is like 1,000,000 miles an hour. Everything's super controlled, super clean. We want muscle damage, not joint damage. So what I wrote was that CrossFit tends to be very challenging on the joints and the muscles around the elbows, forearms, and wrists. So on the non-CrossFit workout days, you'd want to select movements that challenge your muscles, but don't overly stress the joints, especially those like upper body joints that I listed. So I'd skip burpees, for example. I'd skip any kind of jumping movements. You would not want to do joint challenging movements or joint stressful movements in your other workouts. So that way the joints have some, recovery-ish, quote unquote, between the CrossFit workouts. And that'll help. That'll help manage joint pain, joint stress. And from there, if you did start to get joint pain, you would go ahead and make those nutritional changes if you haven't. So if she didn't add the 100 to 200 calories on her CrossFit days, and now she's starting to have a little bit of joint pain, we would go ahead and add those 100 to 200 calories from energy nutrients, carbs and fats. If she hadn't added that 0.1 to 0.2 times your body weight in protein, that extra 15 to 30 grams of protein, she would go ahead and add that then. So you just kind of have to try it, see how you feel, and make some adjustments. If you need more energy, eat more carbs and fats. If you need more recovery, eat more protein. Awesome. So I thought that would be fun, just kind of quick rundown. If anybody ever has any questions, you're always welcome to email me. It's fun getting to answer this stuff and then turn it into a podcast, so hopefully other people can benefit from it as well. So if you do have questions, if you have any feedback, if you have any suggestions, reach out or email us brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like our podcast, please share it. The more people you share it with, the more people can help. That's the whole point of the podcast, is just help everybody live their healthiest and happiest life. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. There is a high hosting cost every year to get the podcast available on as many platforms as possible. So thank you for the donations, so we can continue to try to spread the word of the podcast and continue to help more and more people. If you want to donate, you can do so on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. Even just $5 a month, $10 a month, anything you can give is greatly, greatly appreciated, sincerely. So thank you very, very much. If you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels on Instagram and YouTube. You can find us and follow us under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.